all of our prayers and most of our songs. So parents who grew up with a pretty traditional way of saying the prayers, it's the exact same prayers. It's just with prettier pictures than the ones that we grew up with.
It's nice and new and crisp.
And there's also lots of beautiful poems and pictures. So as we're going through the service, we'll tell you what page we're on. But if you find that you're on another page that you like better and you're learning something from that other page, that's okay. And we'll give you another page number soon enough so that you'll be able to catch up with us. Last couple notes I want to make. For those of you at home, if you would like to follow along in this book, there is a link under the YouTube video that has a link to this Siddur virtually with the same page numbers and everything. So you can still use this exact same machzor, this exact same prayer book, if you're at home. So make sure you click that link so you can follow along. And lastly, for those of you here in the room, if you are not standing at a microphone saying the prayers, we need to ask you to do something. Do you know what it is? It's about your mask. So this is a big deal that we get to be here in this place together. Now, show me where your mask needs to be. All the way, good, from the top of your nose to the bottom of your chin. If you need to take a breather, whether it's because you need to take a breath with your mask off or you've got the spilkies, which is what we called it in our house, where you kind of just need to move around a little bit, it's okay to take a break. All right, it's okay to get up for a minute or two with a grown-up and go take a break if you need to do that. If you need to take a breath or stretch your legs for a minute, then when you're ready, come on back in. We'll be here ready for you. But it is really important when we're all in this room together to make sure that if you're not the one leading the service, that your mask is all the way from the top of your nose to the bottom of your chin. Sound good? All right, good. Last thing. This is our chance to greet the new year. This is a chance to hear and sing along with beautiful music, and we want to hear your voices. So we're going to start this year with our new big ideas, and we're going to put away any of our electronic distractions. Unless you're at home, your distraction has now become your means of participating, so you can use it for participating. And let's gather up all of our hopes and all of our excitement and all of our wishes for the new year as we greet 5782 with one voice, strong and clear. Let's turn to page 76. Now remember, in these books, what seems like the back is actually the front. What seems like the front is actually the back, because they go in what direction? I saw a lot of this. The Hebrew direction. Very good. Page 76 or 77. Let's stand up together.
Ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la la la. Let's try that together. Ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la la la. One more time. Ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la la la.
Page 78. 81, we're going to read responsively. That means I read the first part, then you read the next part, then back to me, then back to you. Ready? I start, then we all join. God's love stretches. From top to bottom, it stretches and grows and melds the beginning and end. Now all together. God's love reaches. From start to finish, it reaches and spreads, forgetting just where it began. Now me. God's love teaches with stories and laws and rules and prayers. It teaches us best how to live together. In love, we listen. We too can stretch. We too can reach. And we too can teach as we seek the new year ahead. Wrap us up in your peace like a great big talit. Hold us close with this prayer in your love.
Baruch atah Adonai, habocher b'mo Yisrael pe'ahava.
Next page.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai.
Page 84, you can sit down now.
With all your heart and with all your soul, it'll take your might to keep you whole. So when we say heart, I want to see everybody put up their hearts like this. With all your heart, good. And with all your soul, give a hug to your heart. It'll take your might, and hug yourself, to keep you whole. Let's keep it going. With all your heart, and with all your soul, it'll take your might to keep you whole. With all your heart and with all your soul, it'll take your might to keep you whole.
Let's turn to page 86, and I would like everyone to put your book down in a place where it's not going to fall on the floor, and I would like for you to stand up and to imagine, I would like you to imagine that you are one of the Israelites who is escaping from Egypt. Get that picture in your mind. Put your book down so you're unburdened by all of your stuff, right? And you have just escaped from slavery. That's kind of a big deal. Can I see a little excitement for the escape from slavery? Yay, we're going to escape from slavery, woohoo! Except you know what happened next. We escaped from slavery, and then all of a sudden, we're running, and then we got to the sea. Yeah, what are we going to do? Everyone stand. Let's hear it. silent applause to Melanie Garber, song leader extraordinaire. Beautifully done.
You know what I'm feeling, Rabbi?
Freedom.
I think we need to do one more rousing chorus of freedom.
You all know that Cantor loves to dance on the bima.
Can we do it one more time? Can we do one more rousing freedom, please, Melanie? I know you can do it. Because I'm
Freedom. 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 Freedom's on our way. Freedom. 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 Freedom's on our way. Beautiful. You can sit back down. We'll turn to page 88 for the Chatzi Kaddish, separating this rousing part of our service from the next rousing part of our service. Let me tell you more about the Chatzi Kaddish. Oh, Cantor's back.
I love Chatzi Kaddish. Do you know there are 14 different types of Kaddishes? And we're not going to sing them all this morning, though.
Let's just do the one,
Or this
maybe.
afternoon. Yit kahatal ve'yit kadash shemei rabah ve'alemadi ve'rachirute ve'amlich malchute bechayechon ve'yomechon ve'chayei lechol beit Yisrael b'ghalal v'zman kari v'yimeru amen amen Yehei shemei rabah mevarach le'alam u'lalmei halmaya yitbarach ve'yishtabach v'yidbar v'yitroma v'yinasei ve'yitatar v'yithaleh v'yithalah shemei lekudesha brichu berichu leila u'leila min kol mirchata ve'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata Damirchan be'alma v'imeru Amen.
We stand once more. We turn to page 90 as we get ready for the Amidah, our standing prayer, where we look deep inside to find the words of our heart.
Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai.
Page 92.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu ve'imoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון. גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניכם, למען שמו באהבה.
94.
זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים, וחותמנו מספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים. מלך עוזר, מושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל מרחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ביתו בחיי, ומצמיח ישועה. מי כמוך האל הרחמים, זוכר יצוריו לחיים ברחמים, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל.
Let's be seated. We turn to page 100 where we find Unatana Tokef. I'm assuming that many of the parents in the room will remember this book from the one that we usually use as a prayer that has some kind of difficult language about the uncertainty of the year ahead, about not knowing exactly what's going to come or the many things that could happen. The Hebrew in this prayer book is exactly the same, but the English makes it a little more understandable for our children. This idea that we have some control, but not all the control. The idea that goodness is in our hands, and it's our job to make the world a better place. Page 100.
ונתן תוקף קדושת היום, כי הוא נורא והיום, ובוא תנשא מלכותך, וייכון בחסד כיסאך, וחרב ורב באמת, וכסף עליו באמת. בראש השנה יכתבון, וביום צום כיפור יכתבון. בראש השנה יכתבון, וביום צום כיפור יכתבון. Temun.
In the middle of page 100, let's read together. Today you open the book of life so that we can read what is written on its pages. Today you ask us to open our hearts and reflect on what we have said and done this past year. On Rosh Hashanah it is written, and on Yom Kippur it is sealed. But throughout the year, the book of life is open, and the choices we make leave a mark on our world. And so we ask ourselves and each other, who will choose to live a good life? Whose hands will cause hurt and whose hands will help heal? Who will speak up and who will be silent? Who will be wise enough to learn from others? Who will be strong enough to make good choices? Who will be greedy and who will be grateful? Who will break people down and who will build people up? Who will choose to be a blessing?
Uteshuvah, utefillah, utsedaka, mavirin et roha hagezehra.
Through return to the right path, through prayer and through righteous giving, we can earn a new page in the book of life and write a better story in the new year.
Taking a breath, you felt in your heart that this all needed changing. And saying these words created the world and brought forth what we need to live. The sun and the moon, the rain from the sky, the earth and the wind, all from one little spark of light. From our sages we read in these pages how your love is never ending. From Egypt redeemed us, gave manna to feed us, gave us sheltered in the night. This past year the road seemed dark and all the blessings far away. You stayed close and returned us here today. Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva. We return to you, O God. Learning from the past to make our days last. Hashivenu, we return to you, O God. Hashivenu, we return to you, O God.
We take a moment now for our own private prayers and personal reflections. If you're not sure what it is you want to think about right now, this is a good time to flip through the Machzor and see if maybe there's a picture that really speaks to you or a reading that you really like. But it's time for a moment to be quiet with the thoughts in our hearts.
gifts, and we are blessings. We are history in song.
Page 105.
We are hope, and we are healing. We are learning to be strong. We are words, and we are stories. We are pictures of the past. We are carriers of wisdom, not the first and not the last. I think you know this part. Letor vator nagid kod lecha. Letor vator, we protect this chain from generation to generation. Letor vator, these lips will praise your name. Looking back on the journey that we carry in our heart, from the shadow of the mountain to the waters that would part. We are blessed and we are holy. We are children of your way, and the words that bring us meaning, we will have the strength to say. Let's join together. Ledor vador, ledor vador, nagid kod lecha. Ledor vador, we protect this chain from generation to generation. Ledor vador, these lips will praise your name.
In the room that you are in, whether it's this room or maybe your living room or your kitchen, we acknowledge that we are all a part of this chain. Not only that, but we are the ones who are creating the chain. Grandparents, parents, and the children who love them. If you're an aunt or an uncle or a longtime friend, we invite you to snuggle in close right now to the people that you love. And take a moment and whisper in their ear a blessing for the year ahead. Share a sweet wish that you have for one another. We share this hopeful prayer that in 5782, may you all be blessed with traditions both old and new, with loving words, with the embrace of this holy community, from generation to generation among friends and family, and friends that feel like family. This is how we build the chain. Ledor vador nagid kod lecha, from generation to generation, our lips will praise your name.
Ledor vador nagid kod lecha. Ledor vador, we protect this chain from generation to generation. Ledor vador, these lips will praise your name. These lips will praise your name.
Speaking of families, our next prayer, Avinu Malkeinu, is all about the way that God is sometimes like a part of our family. Sometimes maybe like a father or like a mother, or maybe God sometimes seems more like a king or more like a queen. Let's stand as we open the ark for Avinu Malkeinu, page 114.
Avinu Malkeinu,
merciful, answer us with patience as we continue to learn and grow. Save us through acts of justice and love. We turn to page 118 and we stay standing. We are going to take the Torah out of the ark and get ready to read our message for today.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, ki mitzion tetzei Torah, udevar Adonai Mirushalayim, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, Le'amo Yisrael Bikedushatu. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum Vechanun, Erech Apayim V'Rav Chesed V'Emet, Notzer Chesed L'Alafim, Nosei Avon V'Fesha, V'Chata V'Nakeh. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh V'Nocha Shemo, Gadol Adonai Iti, Uneromema Shemo Yachdav, Lecha Adonai Hagedula V'Hagevora, V'Atiferet V'Hanetzach V'Hachod, Ki Chol B'Shamayim U'Va'aretz, Ki Chol B'Shamayim U'Va'aretz, Lecha Adonai Ha'Mamlacha V'Haminaseh Lechol Rosh. Let's get those hands clapping, everybody. It's like a Torah dance party from your seats. Shlosha Devarim, Shlosha Devarim, Shlosha Devarim, Ha'olam, Ha'olam, Omen. Shlosha Devarim, Shlosha Devarim.
Sit down now.
Shlosha Devarim, Ha'olam, Ha'olam, Omen.
We have come now to the part of our Torah service where we are going to read from the Torah itself. Cantor, are we reading from the very, very beginning? The beginning of the very beginning. Does anyone know what story that is, the beginning of the very, very beginning? Mr. Charlie Mason Barkin. You got to say it nice and loud. General. The story when God created the world. And do you know why we read that on Rosh Hashanah? Does anybody know why we read the story of when God created the world? Someone other than Charlie Mason Barkin. He goes to Pardes. It's no fair. Why? why today on Rosh Hashanah would we? Do you have an idea? Say it nice and loud. Because it's the beginning of the year. That is exactly right. And do you know what we sometimes call Rosh Hashanah? We sometimes call it the birthday of the world. So while Cantor gets rolling to the right spot, let's sing a little Yom Huledet Sameach to the world, shall we? Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach. Happy birthday, world. We can't wait to read about your creation story. It's just like on my kids' birthdays when I always tell them the day that you were born, and I tell them the whole story, but I'll spare you the details at this moment in time. How many people here in this room have ever had a bar bat mitzvah?
Oh, I did.
If you have ever had a bar bat mitzvah, or if you are of the age that you could have had your bar bat mitzvah, congratulations, today's your bar bat mitzvah day. Please stand up, you're gonna help us with the aliyah. Turn to page 121. Anybody who had a bar bat mitzvah, you're all, just stay right where you are. We're gonna do it from your seats, because that would be a lot of, shuffling around. All right, if you have had a bar bat mitzvah, do you wanna call everyone?
Ya'amdu Rishon.
All right, top of 121. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch ata Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Amen. Breshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Ve'haaretz hayta tohu vavohu ve'choshech al pnei tehom. Ve'ruach Elohim merachefet al pnei hamayim. Vayomer Elohim yehi or vayehi or. Vayar Elohim et haor ki tov vayavdel Elohim bein haor uvein hachoshech vayikra Elohim leor yom velachoshech chara laila vayehi erev vayehi voker yom echad.
When God was about to create heaven and earth, the earth was a chaos, unformed, and on the chaotic water's face, there was darkness. Then God's Spirit glided over the face of the waters, and God said, do you know what God said? Say it with me if you know it. Let there be light. And there was light. And when God saw how good the light was, God divided the light from the darkness. God then called the light day and called the darkness night. And there was evening and there was morning, the very first day. If you were standing for the aliyah, you're not done yet. We have to say the blessing after. Stand back up, all of my bar bat mitzvah alumni. The blessing after the reading is on page 121. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch ata Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Yasher koach. The people at home really did a nice job.
They
with
really
that.
did. We could hear you all the way from your couches.
I felt it, but you all in the room, you did okay too. Yasher koach, you did great, Yasher koach. With the Torah out in front of us, we draw strength from its teaching as we think of those who are in need of healing. You can find our prayer for healing on page 123. If there's someone who's sick, whether it's a sickness where their body isn't feeling right, or maybe their heart or their soul or their mind isn't feeling right, and you would like to share their name out loud, or if you're watching at home, you can share their name in the chat on YouTube or Facebook. We invite you to share those names at this time. Our prayer is on 123. Let's stand. Rabbi Khan is going to lift the Torah so we can all see the very beginning.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. Torah, 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 ציווה לנו משה. Torah, 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 ציווה לנו משה. Torah, ציווה לנו משה. Torah, ציווה לנו משה. Torah, ציווה לנו משה. Torah, ציווה לנו משה.
Let's stay standing as we return the Torah to the ark.
הודו על ארץ ושמיים וירם קרן לימו תהילה לכל חסידיו לבני ישראל עם קרובו הללויה הללויה Shalom, shalom. Shalom, shalom. Shalom, shalom. Shalom, shalom. Shalom, shalom. Eitzayim Kehilah Kedoshah B'Tzolechecha Me'usher Eitzayim Kehilah Kedoshah B'Tzolechecha Me'usher Shalom, shalom. Shalom, shalom. Shalom, shalom. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom. I have a story for you. I'm going to put my mask on so I can wander around a little. I'm going to do this Rabbi Khan style. Sound good? So once upon a time, a long, long time ago, there was a king, and this king's name was King Rosh. Exactly. Does anybody know what the word Rosh means in Hebrew? Perhaps if I say Rosh, you'll understand what I mean.
Is that something that crawls up your sink? Or your
I really hope not. Rosh, what does Rosh mean? Do you know? I saw your mom was tapping it. Head. Head. And we call this holiday, what's this holiday again? I said Shabbat Shalom last night. It was very embarrassing. I did.
Oh, it was awesome.
We call this holiday what? I'm really glad you all know that. Rosh Hashanah, because it is the of the year. Well, King Rosh was also the head of the whole kingdom. That's why his name was King Rosh. And King Rosh had two daughters. They were twins. Is anyone here a twin? I always want to know what it's like to be a twin, because from this story, it doesn't sound amazing. So here's the deal. King Rosh had two daughters, and they, of course, if he was the king, what were they?
Disney.
Princesses, right? It's a princess story. And their names were Princess Tapuach. Does anyone know what a tapuach is? Charlie Mason Barkin. An apple. Now let's see if anyone can guess this one. The other's name was Princess Devash. What do you think Devash is? Yes. Yes, Princess Tapuach, Princess Apple, who loved to eat apple crisp and apple butter and apple sauce. She especially loved the squeezy pouches. But most of all, her most favorite snack was apples dipped in. That's right. Now, Princess Devash, she had different favorite snacks. She liked honey cake. She liked, remember bit of honey? Yeah, she liked bit of honey. She liked honey drizzled on her Greek yogurt. But most of all, her most favorite snack was apples dipped in honey. You got it exactly right. And so every afternoon, fascinating. Every afternoon, King Rosh would have his daughters come to his home, and he would say, my daughters. Oh, you see, his daughters had very important jobs because Princess Tapuach had to run one side of the kingdom where all the apple orchards were. She had to make sure the apple trees were watered, that the apples were bright and red and shiny, and that they were getting all of the blossoms pollinated as they needed to be. And Princess Devash, she ran the other side of the kingdom. And do you know what they did on the other side of the kingdom? They were beekeepers. Now, that might sound scary, but she always kept her EpiPen close by, and the bees really trusted her, and they didn't do a lot of stinging because they were too busy pollinating the blossoms on the apple trees. And then do you know what they did when they came back? They made honey. And so in the afternoons when Princess Tapuach and Princess Devash would come back to their home with their father, King Rosh, they would enjoy a drink of apple cider or maybe tea with honey, and they would eat their favorite snack, apples dipped in honey. And King Rosh was so proud of his daughters that he said, my daughters, I'm so proud of the work that you're doing in this kingdom and the beautiful apples and the sweet honey that I have a gift for each one of you. Princess Tapuach, your gift is a song. And this is how it sounds. Finding keys is hard. Hey, oh, I'm probably wrong. Oh, hey. Try that with me. Hey, oh, hey. And Princess Tapuach said, I love this song. It sounds like the wind blowing through my apple orchards. It's soft and mellow, just like my whole side of the kingdom. And Princess Devash, who, you know how sisters can be, she's like, Daddy, where's my song? What does my song sound like? And he said, oh, my daughter, I have a song for you too. Your song is light and busy, just like the bumblebees. It sounds like this. Yeah, try that with me. And both of the daughters loved their song so much that they went back to their sides of the kingdom singing their most beautiful favorite songs. Princess Tapuach singing, hey, oh, oh, hey. And Princess Devash singing, yai, dai, 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 yai, dai, 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 dai. And day after day, they sang their songs while they did their jobs and cared for their sides of the kingdom. And all day long, they sang and sang and sang. And Princess Devash was starting to get annoyed. You know that sound when your brother or your sister just keeps singing the same thing over and over again? You know how you start to feel when your brother or your sister is making that same sound? Like, hey, oh, oh. She said, I can't stand it anymore. This song is droning on, and I don't want to hear it. And in the meantime, Princess Tapuach was like, those sound like buzzy bees in my ear all the time. I cannot take it anymore. That's it. I'm done with her. And Princess Devash said, that's it. I'm done with her. And the two girls, the two princesses, the two strong boss lady women said, that's it. We're not going to spend any time together. And ever again, no more afternoon tea, no more afternoon apples and honey. I'm going to build a wall So Princess Tapuach started putting in the cement blocks, and Princess Devash said, that wall, I'm gonna build it even higher than you. And they built that wall, and the two sisters didn't see each other for a long, long time. And King Rosh was feeling pretty bummed because he loved having tea with his daughters, and he loved knowing how close they were. So King Rosh got in his helicopter, as kings do, and he flew over to the Tapuach side of the kingdom, and do you know what he saw? He saw signs on the wall that said things like, honey is gross. Whew, that was bad. And he saw that the apples were beginning to rot, and all the people were getting stomach aches, but they didn't care because they did not want anything to do with those bees over there in the land of Devash. And the apples couldn't grow because there were no bees to pollinate the blossoms. And it was very sad all around. Yeah, and so then he flew his helicopter over to the land of Devash, where the bees were starting to sting people.
What?
And there were signs that said, apples are ugly.
What?
It was really bad news. It was very, very sad. And the bees couldn't make any honey because they weren't allowed to go pollinate the blossoms. So you know what King Rosh did? He took a jar and he caught some bees. And he put a lid on it, poked a couple holes, and he secretly brought it over to the land of Tapuach, where he undid it and let the bees go. Now, you'll never guess what happened next. Princess Tapuach came storming into her father's castle, and she said, Daddy, there are intruders in my castle, in my kingdom. Those intruders let bees in, and we all know there's no bees allowed in the land of Tapuach.
Bees allowed.
And then guess who came stomping up the castle gates next? It was Princess Devash, and she said, Daddy, there has been an intruder because my bees are making honey again, and how can they do that if they're not allowed to go pollinate those apple blossoms? Whew, it was a lot. That's what Yom Kippur is for, right? And the king said to his daughters, listen to the sounds of your kingdom. Listen to the sounds over in the land of Tapuach. Oh, there we are. In Tapuach, they were singing, hey, oh, oh. And meanwhile, in the land of Devash, they're singing, yai, 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 yai. Was that these two melodies were one song, that the two parts needed each other to listen and cooperate and to hear and make more beautiful when they work together. And it's just like what we need in our world too, right? When we all work together, we make a much more beautiful song. So this side is going to sing with me, and this side is going to sing with Cantor. I'll be Tapuach. All right. With to make our songs even more beautiful. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Tim Barkin, that was a lot of teaching today.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! Beautiful sermon this morning, beautiful story this afternoon, and now we get to fulfill our first big mitzvah of the new year. Now, most mitzvot in Judaism, most commandments in Judaism are to do something. They involve well, if I say hamotzi, I have to eat something. If I say the blessing over washing my hands, I have to wash my hands. If I say blessing over eating something, I have to eat it. But this is one of only 2 mitzvahs in all of Judaism where we're commanded not to eat something or to react to something or do something, but we're required to use our ears and listen to something. One is the first one of the new year. What do you think it is that we are required, we are commanded, we are mitzvahed to listen to or to hear?
Your moms and dads.
Yes, our moms and dads, but that's not specific. It's not listening. It's to show kavod, respect and honor. So these are only things that you need to hear. So what do you think the mitzvah is today, the first one of the year, where we have to hear something? Yes, choices. The what? The shofar, the horn, that's right. The blessing will say, Asher Kichanu B'Mitzotav. Thank you, God. Praise is God who commands us to hear the sound of shofar. Now, just for trivial pursuit, just in case it comes up at a party, what's the second and only other mitzvah we're required to hear something? It's also attached to a holiday. What? I didn't hear. No.
Well, you can hear the sound of the crispy crust.
Yes. It's another holiday. It's a big Jewish fun holiday. Not that they're all not. And it has to do with a story about a very famous, what? Purim. The only other mitzvah we're required to hear or listen is to the story of, or the chanting of Megillat Esther, of the scroll of Esther. So the sound of the shofar and listening to the Megillat Esther being chanted are the only 2 mitzvahs in all of Judaism where you're required or we're fulfilling the mitzvah by listening. So you don't have to make the sound of the shofar. You don't even have to make the sound of which sounds you're calling out of the shofar. You don't even have to buy a shofar. None of that is commanded, but you have to listen to the shofar. So now we get to do the shofar service, fulfill our first listening commandment of the new year. Bond is going to come up to the bima to help us with this, and Cantor is going to lead us in the blessings, which if you want to follow along are on page 108, again focusing on the last line, Lishmoa kol shofar, that we should listen to the sound of the shofar, and then of course we'll say Shechianu as well, because it's our first time doing it as a community of families.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lishmoa kol shofar. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyemanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Tekiah Shvarim Trua Tekiah Shvarim Tekiah Cherua Tekiah Gedolah.
Yasher
Yasher Koach.
Good job, my
This
friend.
was Bond's first time blowing
Yes.
this year.
Yes.
Nailed it. And you know what, Bond? You have just went ahead and pushed me even further. I mean, I like to hear the shofar blast before.
You do,
But
but
now having-
guess what, Cantor?
What?
There's a song, I think, on page 172 that fits what it is that you're
Oh.
talking about.
You know, sometimes I like to hear it slow or sometimes fast. Melanie, will you go ahead and play with us?
172.
Oh, wait a minute. I think I need everybody to go ahead and repeat after me. I want you to say the sounds of the shofar.
Let's do it.
Tekiah,
Kia
Shvarim,
Shvarim.
ah, 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 ah.
True.
Tekiah Gedolah.
Kehilah Kedoshah.
All right, I like that. I like to hear the shofar blast, sometimes slow and sometimes fast. I like to hear the shofar blast. Happy, happy, happy New Year. Tekiah, Tekiah, Shvarim, Shvarim.
All right. We're going to conclude now with Aleinu and Kaddish and our final song. So everyone please stand for Aleinu 142.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
The last part of our service before we sing our final song is not typically our favorite part of the service because sometimes it makes us sad. It's the Kaddish. And Kaddish is said by those of us who are mourning or missing our moms or our dads who are no longer with us, or maybe a brother or a sister who's no longer with us, or even a close friend who's no longer with us. And you guys, you've been seeing the TV and the news the last year. There have been a lot of people who've gotten sick and who've died from COVID as well. And we may not know them. They may not be close friends or relatives, but we feel for their families and we feel sad for their brothers and their sisters and their siblings and, brothers and sisters are siblings, or maybe their cousins or their friends, and maybe we even know someone. So it's been a hard year, and this is a hard part of our service, but I know you are all super, super good at understanding things, that even as we celebrate the creation of the world, even as we are so joyous that the world gets a 5,782nd year, knowing that there's going to be a 5783 and an 84 and an 85 till infinity, that even as we celebrate all of the beautiful creation and we celebrate apples and honey, that we also, it's important for us as Jews to take just a moment to think about those who we miss. Because I miss my mom and dad a lot during the High Holy Days, but I also know that my memory of them gives me a lot of strength and makes me really happy when I think about them. So it's sort of that mixture of blessings and sometimes some sadness that's also connected to blessings. That's really what the Kaddish is about. It's not about death. It's about life and our gratitude for life and being our best selves every single day as our loved ones would want us to be. So for anyone who wishes to say out loud the name of a loved one you're thinking of on this Rosh Hashanah who you're missing today, and if you're online, please feel free to type their name into the comments section in the description on YouTube. Please say their name out loud if you wish, or just to yourself as I look around. So we think of all of those names along with those that we have said to ourselves and those that have been typed out online. And let's say Kaddish together, 146. Yit kadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich machutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kari v'imru, Amen. Yehi Shemei Rabbah Mevarach Le'olam U'Le'omei Almaya. Yiparach V'yishtabach V'yipa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yitaleh V'yithalal Shmei Dekudsha Brichu Le'elah Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata Da'amiran Be'alma V'yimru, Amen. Yehi Shalom Rabbah Min Shemaya V'chaim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru, Amen. Oseh Shalom B'mramav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru, Amen. May the source of peace send peace to those who are mourning and grieving. As together we say, Amen. And now we have a song that is named for this service. Or maybe this service was named for the song that Cantor wrote, 2 or 3 years ago. We don't have it in the books. It's called One Voice. It'll probably come back to you. But relax, have a seat, and we're going to end with One Voice and then wish each other a Shana Tova Umituka.
It's hard to keep moving forward, not backwards, through calling and talking together. We're walking. Uteshuva, utefila, utsedaka. We're one step closer to you. Uteshuva, utefila, utsedaka. Closer to starting anew. Life, Leshana Tova Tikatevu, Leshana Tova Tikatevu, Leshana Tova Tikatevu.
We will be together again for our One Voice service, for family service at 2 o'clock on Yom Kippur Day. And so please feel free to invite your friends and family and join us online as well. We have Tat Shabbat this afternoon at 4 and Tashlich at 5:15 at Road Runner Park. It is the day that never ends. And in case you didn't get enough today, second day Rosh Hashanah services tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. right here on our home turf. Jason Bronowitz, our camp director, is here. Jennifer Walker, our assistant camp director. Stacy, who is our czar of all things youth. If you have any questions about this year, we're getting everything back together for in-person programming, and we can't wait to see you guys as soon as later today for Tashlich or next week for Yom Kippur. So Shana Tova, we're so happy to see you and be back together in person.
Shana Tova, everyone.